last time we covered the Ukraine war, you guys know we were at this kind of stalemate with the Trump team, the Rubio aggressive team going after Putin. Putin was like taking a step back, and there was this little stalemate, and now Putin is questioning Zelensky. Of course he is. His validity, which he should, which we all should. We've been doing it the whole time. I mean, come on. The ceasefire continues to delay, but this part's getting a little worrisome. So I'll throw this up here. So Donald Trump is saying he's very angry with Vladimir. So he's getting a little harsh here. This is the Trump we know and love, the aggressive. Let him out of his cage. Trump, U.S. president, says Russian counterparts questioning of Zelensky's credibility could delay ceasefire. So we're right back where we were. Before I get your thoughts on this one, this is happening at the same time that we're getting this kind of complete stalemate, Trump getting more aggressive. The New York Times is now reporting on the Ukraine war in a different way than we've ever seen in the last 2.5 years. Let's look at this coverage. Fox News reports on New York Times article that came out just a few days ago. Check this out, and then we'll talk about the whole thing. Here we go.
Times reveals the United States has played a more significant role in the Ukraine-Russia conflict than previously known. According to their investigation, America was woven into the war far more intimately and broadly than previously understood. At critical moments, the partnership was the backbone of Ukrainian military operations, and vast American intelligence collection effort both guided big-picture battle strategy and funneled precise targeting information to Ukrainian soldiers in the field.
Wow, that's so bizarre.
It's breaking news. It's breaking news. Who could have ever figured that out, Matt? Could you have ever guessed that?
I could never have guessed that, Jay, because I remember, when Putin woke up, one morning in February of 2022, and he just decided, today I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to start with Ukraine, then I'm going to move on to the rest of Europe, and then I'm going to come for the States, and I'm going to own the entire planet. So I was told that happened 1 February. There was no pretext going into it. There was no lead up to that in any way. We had, all of us were like, whoa. So of course, like everyone else, I put my Ukrainian flag in my social media profile, and I champion these guys, this democracy, that yes, we have to save democracy. That was the point. It's always been the case. And now, fast forward 2.5 years, I feel like we've been kind of tricked, Jay. What happened? And how is the New York Times able to get to the bottom of this? But I hate to ask this question. Why do you think it took them so long? I mean, they have way more resources than we do. All we have is Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity, telling us it's time for nuclear war, and we got to stick it to Putin. How come they just took this long to get it right? And I do feel like I was tricked. I feel really like hurt here. Jay, what's your thoughts?
I think that we've gotten our ass beat in Ukraine so bad that, it's impossible to kind of like deny it at this point. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to blame this on Trump, because if you actually look at, how they wrote that article, they make it seem like, there were a few setbacks because the Ukrainians got kind of wild. But when they were listening to us, we were winning. But then the Ukrainians made some bad decisions, and Trump came in and just blew it all up. And if Biden had just won the election, then we could have actually beat Russia. We would have defeated Russia. So if you look at the framing of the New York Times article, the whole framing is we were part of it. It was the right thing to do. Trump is wrong for even supposedly, trying to bring peace to it. Now, whether or not he's actually doing that, I don't actually think he's going to do it. I think maybe he wants to give Putin the impression and the world the impression that he wants to do it, because if you're getting beat and you want the other guy to let his guard down, you're going to like ease up for a second. Like, hey, let's talk about this for a second. But if the other guy puts his fist down for a second, then maybe you come in for your uppercut. So is that what Trump is doing right now? In my opinion, yes, that's what I do believe Trump is doing. And the reason I say that is because clearly we have our eyes set on Iran and China. And if Russia is not bogged down in Ukraine, they can put more effort into backing up their allies. And unlike America, Russia does not have the world reserve currency, and they cannot afford to fight forever wars the way we have been able to, or at least we thought we were able to, for all this time. So the truth is, they can't afford to do this forever. They will need to bring it to an end, like sometime soon. And I think Russia has been advancing slowly on the battlefield on purpose because they want to keep it, they want to save as much life as possible while actually achieving their end goal of making Ukraine a neutral state and protecting the Russian speakers there and trying to denazify Ukraine. So I think what's happening with the New York Times article is that it's just pressure on Trump to not take his foot off the gas, and putting it out in the open that yes, we were involved, yes, it's the right thing, and we need to keep doing it, because the tone of the article is that Russia needs to be broken up and Russia needs to be defeated. That's like the whole tone of the New York Times article. And of course, they leave out the fact that we've been partnering with the Azov battalion since 2014, and even before that. In fact, as World War II came to an end, we actually were partnering with the leftover Nazis over there from that time because they were against Russia, because Russia fought the Nazis. And we always wanted to topple Russia. We even, like Winston Churchill, proposed we nuke Russia like before World War II even ended. And a lot of people don't realize that Winston Churchill was trying to convince America to nuke Russia while we were supposed to be on the same side fighting the Nazis. So we've been working with Nazis since literally directly after World War II. And we've been backing that same faction up, trying to wait for the right time to get them into power so they can fight Russia. The same way we do with radicalized, Muslims, the same way we do wherever. We destabilize situations so we can come in and then take advantage. And that's what we're trying to do with Russia. The difference is Russia is a nuclear power, and they have a much more self-sufficient economy than we thought. And I do honestly believe we thought the sanctions were really going to take Russia out, but they proved to be a lot more resilient than we expected there. So on top of that, and our military not being as effective as we would have hoped, the establishments is in a bad spot right now, because in order for their plan to work, everyone has to believe that America can be the world police. Because if Americans realize, hey, there's no guarantee we win, like if we fight Russia and China at the same time, maybe we won't want that to happen. And of course, I don't think we want it to happen anyway, but I think there'll be even more pushback if people realize, hey, these guys can probably beat us. I mean, the truth is, the Oreshnik missile, I want everybody to just Google that right now. Oreshnik missile, Roeshnik. We can't shoot it down. It's like a hypersonic missile. And Russia has said to us, you guys pick the target that we're going to shoot next, because we will shoot a target. And we're going to tell you the exact time that we're going to shoot that target so you can move all of your people out the way. And we guarantee you we'll hit that target. And we never called their bluff. You know why we never called that bluff? Because we can't shoot the shit down. And if there is some super secret stuff that they don't want to let out, I mean, I don't know. That's the only other explanation. But on paper, we cannot shoot down some of their most advanced missiles that aren't even nuclear missiles. Russia might be able to beat us without even nuking us.
I just worry, Jay, that, even though more people are aware of this, it's harder and harder for them. Like you said, the mainstream, they're in trouble trying to keep this narrative going. It's not sustainable as long as we're actually losing our standing in the world and we're not actually able to push our might and our will on everyone. So it isn't, on one hand, it is not sustainable over the long run. This is going to come to an end. However, on the other hand, and we know this about empires, they always go out kicking and screaming and upping up their war machine. They don't back off at the end and go, well, you know what? Let's enjoy, as the Titanic sinking, you play a nice song. We don't have that nice song. We are still fighting and carrying on like psychopaths. And my fear is that the American people will because we show a pattern every single time. We fall for this over and over. I mean, you remember Iraq. I mean, we said clear as day that was an illegal war. It was based on a lie. 1 million Iraqis died, unnecessary. All the Americans that died. We would never fall for that again. That we have to go save democracy. We have to go, push our will on you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. It's happening again.
It flipped.
It's happening again. And
you remember it was Republicans that were in favor of the Iraq war and Democrats that were against it. All they did was they literally demonized Putin like Saddam Hussein. And then the Democrats fell for this one as there was more Republican pushback this time. So they completely flipped it. It's amazing.
They flipped, but it's worse because now you got the Israel. You're bringing back an oldie but a goodie, right? It's the terror. It's the war on terror again. So you got the Democrats falling for the Ukraine war. So you got no peace protesters. We were in the streets for Iraq, and it was okay to do that. And you weren't getting censored for it. You weren't getting. You didn't have YouTube channels to get taken down at the time because they didn't exist. I mean, we're talking early 2000s. So that was okay. You could be on the left and be anti-war. Now, like you said, Jay, the left is totally captured with the Ukraine war and like saving democracy. Like they have no memory. They have a memory hold on what happened 20 years earlier. But it's worse because the Republicans are also back to it's the oldie but the goodie. It's war on terror 2.0. Here we go. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. You're either with us or you're anti-Semitic. You're either with us or you're with Hamas. You're with Hezbollah. All this shit. And I don't know who's left in our camp. Enough people left in our camp to say this is BS, guys. We can see it coming a mile away. We know the game plan. Don't you guys recognize this? Can't you recognize it's the same blueprint every time?
I will say though. I will say. I think in terms of opposition to the Middle Eastern wars, I think most Democrats are actually still opposed to the Middle Eastern wars. And I do think there's a larger share of Republicans now who are against some of those wars, at least the Republican base. Now, Republican politicians, other than Massey, they're all for it, So I will say on the Middle Eastern wars, I do think there will be a lot more, at least, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't think most people are aware of what actually is happening with Iran and the threats that are being made right now. But I think, once it happens, if it happens, I pray to God it doesn't happen. But if it does wind up happening, I think the pushback will be stronger than the pushback we saw against Iraq, because I do think there's more Republicans who are against it this time. But as far as the Ukraine war goes, unfortunately, it seems like most Democrats are still of the impression that Putin is Hitler. So
yeah, and they got their by the way, their social medias here in Hollywood. They got the Ukraine flag right back in it ever since the Trump and Zelensky showdown. They got their social. They're right back to the yellows and blues. We're in line. We're ready to go. Give us our next instruction about who to be mad at and
he's
who we're
broken their
take.
brain. It was all because people blame Trump's victory. The left Democrats blame Trump's original victory on Putin. They still to this day believe that Russia is the reason that Trump won in 2016, not the fact that they cheated Bernie, not the fact that Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate before the election, not the fact that she ran a terrible campaign. It was Russia. And that's why they refuse to look a little deeper. It's just easier to blame someone. Putin's the bad guy. It's his fault. Fuck Putin. That's what they think. So
yeah.